I'm baking square eggs today to use on breakfast sandwiches because a lot of us, I think, are buying our sandwiches on the go. We're buying them out when we're out and about in the morning, but you can make these so fast and so easy at home. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm Judy Matusky. I'm a registered dietitian and culinary nutritionist with Athens Nutrition. So thanks for joining me today live, or for those of you that are watching this on the replay. We are going to be making these fantastic breakfast sandwiches, and I just love breakfast sandwiches. I think you can eat them all day long, but they're just so well balanced and I think so satisfying, and you can build them out in so many different ways. I want to show you how to make these square eggs because what I love about this is that you can prep this ahead, so you can bake these ahead of time, save them in the refrigerator, you can freeze them, and then you can pull them out to assemble a really quick breakfast sandwich and put it together with any flavor combination that you really want. So let's go ahead and get started. The first ingredient, this is again, we're cooking fast and light with 5-ish ingredients, and this one is exactly 3 ingredients if we even want to count water and salt as an ingredient. So it's really just eggs that we're going to be beating up. This recipe is set for 4 servings, so it's going to use 8 eggs. And we are going to be baking this in an 8x8 square, supposed to be a metal pan, but I don't have that right now. But you could double this recipe and make it in a longer, 9x12 pan. Depending on if you are making these and you're feeding a lot of people at one time, this is just a fantastic recipe for that. Or if you really do want to make a whole lot ahead of time and wrap them and then put them in the freezer. So I'm going to do this for 4. So I've got 6 eggs already cracked just to get a little head start. So when you're cracking your eggs, ideally it's better to crack them on the counter and then over your bowl, just because it sort of helps keep the shells from falling in. Because if you're cracking them right on the rim, then there's a good chance that a little piece of shell might fall in. So so I had 6 eggs in here. I'm just adding the final 2. All right. And then all we're going to do, we're just going to add a little bit of salt, and that's just going to be about a pinch of salt, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, just a little bit, because the idea behind this is that we're trying to keep the eggs as sort of this neutral canvas. So I'm not adding any real flavor to the eggs. It's really just the eggs, and then we're going to add flavor as we build out the sandwich. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could add more things to this. You could add fresh herbs, you could add cheese, you could add just different seasonings or spices or cumin, or you could, but I'm keeping this really neutral. I found this recipe from Cooks Illustrated. I just thought it was such a fantastic idea. What a great way to make eggs really quickly. So now we're just going to take your whisk and we're just going to break these eggs up a little bit before we add the water. Now we're adding water to this. That's really what was in the original recipe. You could use milk if you wanted to use milk instead of water, but I think water, again, just keeps everything really neutral. If you can't, tolerate dairy very well, or if you're not adding dairy to your diet, then you can just keep it out. If you want to boost the protein even more, and then, certainly bring in calcium from milk, you can certainly add it. I'm going to use water. And we're using 2/3 of a cup of water. And when I first read this recipe, I thought this seemed so odd to add that much water to the eggs. I would never think to do that. But apparently from a food science perspective, the water actually helps when the eggs bake or cook, their protein tighten. They tighten up into sort of like a tight mesh. And what the liquid does, whether it's water or whether it's milk, it keeps the eggs from getting so tight when they bake. And what that does is it helps the eggs to result in a creamier, silkier, just like a more custard kind of texture. And that's exactly what these eggs do. And that's probably the main, well, other than the fact that they're super easy, but I love the texture of them. They're almost, I don't know if you've sous vide or done that with eggs, but they really are very soft and silky and custardy. And it's the liquid, the amount of liquid, whether it's, again, water or milk, either would work, is really what's doing that. All right, so we're just gonna, kind of blend this together, and that is it. So you don't have to do a whole lot of whisking. And then I have now the recipe does call for a metal pan. So if you have a metal 8x8 baking dish, that's really what you want to use. I could not find mine today, so I'm using just an 8x8 ceramic dish, which the reason why the metal is a little bit better is, first of all, you get really distinct edges with a metal baking dish. So when you do cut these are actually squares. And when you pull it out of the oven, the ceramic is going to hold the heat more so than a metal baking dish. So when you go to cool this, you're going to get some residual cooking going on once you pull it from the oven, and it kind of just could make the eggs maybe overcook a little bit. So metal is preferred. I have done it and am doing it in this ceramic, and it works. What I did was I took them out just a little before they were fully set in the middle, because I knew they would continue to cook while they were just sitting on the rack. All right, so I have these in here. I have the eggs all ready to go, so I'm just gonna pour them in. And they're not real thick, so these eggs, they're not meant to be. They don't get real thick. And I'll show you, because I did cook some ahead of time, because they do take a little bit of time in the oven. So you're using a very low temperature to keep these nice and silky and custardy. And they're going to be in the oven for about 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. You kind of want to check them, maybe around 30 minutes, check them, give them a little jiggle, and make sure once they start to look that they're set in the middle, that's when you want to bring them out, because you really don't want to overcook them. But what we're also going to do is we're just going to take a baking sheet with a rim. We need a rim because we're going to pour some water in here. We're going to set the dish on this baking sheet. And because we're not putting very much water in the bottom of this pan, you can easily just take this and then pop it in the oven. You don't have to pour the water while the baking sheet's in the oven. But what the water does, it's about 1.5 cups of water, and it kind of just gives it a little bit of a water bath. But it doesn't need to come up hot, like halfway up the side of this pan. We just need a little water on the bottom, just to give it a little bit of water coating around the base, which the main reason for this is it really helps to keep the edges from overcooking, because it's going to be in the oven for a while, because it needs to be in order for the center to cook. But what's going to happen is these edges are going to cook a little too quickly if you don't have a little bit of water on the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these in, but because it takes so long to bake, I'll show you the one that I made earlier. All right, I'm just gonna set this for 30 minutes. I'll check it. It could take up to 40 minutes, but I check it at 30. And so I'm gonna pop some toaster in the oven because we're gonna build a breakfast sandwich. Let me just show you what it looks like as they come out. All right, so here's a finished egg square. And you can see, because I used the ceramic baking dish had rounded edges, we're not getting that sharp square edge. But this is the thickness that we're looking for. Let me just grab a spatula so I can pull this up. So this is what it is. So they're not super thick, but this would be the equivalent of having 2 eggs. But I don't know if you can tell, but if you can, it really looks like an egg custard, and that's exactly the texture it has. So if you like that kind of a texture, these eggs are definitely for you. If you preferred a crispy fried egg with a runny yolk, then maybe not, but I don't prefer that type of an egg, and I prefer this kind of an egg. So what you do is, you're gonna get your pan, and then once you take it out of the oven, you're just gonna put it on a rack and let it cool. Then cut them into 4 squares. Then to store them, just put them in like a glass container, and you can see I have these stacked up. So there's three in here. I'm gonna have one we're gonna use to build our sandwich. Then just cover them up, and in the refrigerator, these are set and ready. You can, 3 or 4 days easily in the refrigerator to use to make breakfast sandwiches throughout the week. Super easy, super fast. All you're gonna have to do is, toast some toast or English muffins, and then throw whatever else you want to put on there with it, but they're good to go. If you want to freeze them, what I would do is I would probably wrap these individually, or at least separate them with either parchment paper or just even saran wrap, and then stack them in maybe a freezer bag and then freeze them. But I think you definitely want something between each one because they'll stick together. But they're great. So I actually plan to make these. I have, my son's getting married at the end of May, which is gonna be fantastic. I'm excited. But we're gonna have a lot of people around throughout the week. And I thought for breakfast mornings, we're gonna easily then put together some breakfast sandwiches. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of these and freeze them because they'll probably last at least 2 or 3 months in the freezer. And then I'll have them ready to go. And we can, assemble sandwiches pretty easily. All right, so we have our toast. Let's just put together a real quick sandwich. And what's great about these breakfast sandwiches, because your options are great, are endless as far as how you might want to, what types of things you want to put on your sandwich. Nutritionally, we're looking for a really good balance around the macronutrients. So, our bread, I'm using just Dave's killer of 70 calorie sliced bread. I love this bread. You could use Ezekiel bread. Ezekiel English muffins, I love. They're one of my favorites. I couldn't find them in the supermarket when I was there the other day. But, so bread, ideally whole grain, because that's gonna bring that high fiber carbohydrate. There's that one macronutrient that we love in the morning. And then we're gonna want a little bit of healthy fat. And so instead of using avocado slices, I just have some guacamole that I made yesterday. So I'm gonna just spread a little bit of that on the bottom. And the one thing when you're making breakfast sandwiches too is that you're trying to build it in a way that they don't like when you go to eat them, like all the filling doesn't fall out and slip around. So this is kind of acts a little bit like the glue. It could be mayonnaise if you wanted a little bit of mayonnaise on here. Just trying to keep it sort of, somewhat of a, healthy fat. So I'm using the guacamole. And then I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna take the breakfast sandwich and we'll just pop this on. All right. I'm gonna use a little bit of cracked pepper now on top of my egg. And I have some red onion. So now we have the high fiber, whole grain bread. We're gonna, the egg obviously is our excellent protein source. Eggs are so great with protein and vitamin D and a little vitamin D in the yolk. And lutein is a really important nutrient for eye health, and that's in the yolk. Not so much of a worry about the cholesterol for most of us. If some of you who may have elevated cholesterol, maybe we do have to be a little more careful with the yolks, but for the most part, most of us can certainly have the whole egg. We don't have to just have the egg whites. And then I think what I'll do is I have a tomato, not really tomato season, but this one looked pretty decent. So I think I'll pop that on as well. Maybe just a little sprinkle of salt on that tomato. And then we'll put it together. And here we have this absolutely gorgeous, delicious, super well balanced breakfast sandwich. So if you have your ingredients to stack on these square eggs, whether it's smoked salmon with some dill and capers, or maybe you want to saute up some onions and some peppers and some mushrooms and put those on top. But thinking, nice to bring some sort of vegetable component to this for flavor and crunch, and then, your whole grain English muffin or toast, and then your nice custardy, silky, creamy egg that is absolutely delicious. So you've got a jump start for the day. Give these a try. If you, like our videos and our recipes, please share them with anybody that you think might really benefit from some, healthy cooking tips that are fast and easy. Please do so. We have our second dessert workshop coming up in May. Our first one was on Mediterranean desserts, and it was so fun, and we had a great time. Made a lot of different recipes. Now we're going to do something on fabulous cakes that, with sort of a healthy twist. So that'll be coming up in May. You can jump over to athensnutrition.com, our website, and you can sign up there. I'll also put the link below in under this video. So check that out and stay well. And we always remember that cooking is such a powerful health behavior. It's one of the best things you can do for your health. So I will see you next week.